Thank you for tuning in to Think Tech. I'm your host, Attila Suras, and here on MBT, this is the lighthouse for great ideas. So, with us today, we have another person who's doing a great idea. His name is Russel Cheng, and he's the co-director for Founder Institute. Thank you for joining us on the show, Russel.
Thank you for having me here.
You are doing a lot of things.
Well, we're trying to keep busy.
You try to keep busy, and this is awesome. I'm really excited about Founder Institute. So, tell me a little bit about what it is and why your heart went out and decided to get involved with this organization.
It's one of the world's largest startup accelerators. It's been around for almost 4 years, and it's actually 5 years now. It has over 1,000 companies that it's helped to start up and find founders for, and just it's really, I guess, the easy way to describe it would be almost like a startup school for first-time founders.
Wow. So this is fairly new to Hawaii, right?
It's fairly new to Hawaii. We had a cohort last year, and it ended. We had 21 companies founders apply, but at the ending part, we only had 5 of them graduate. So 5 of them actually completed the 15-week course and did graduate, and they have their own companies. And that was in November 6th of 2013. So now fast forward to 2014, we're starting up a new cohort, a second cohort, and generating some excitement for that.
And so, what was the first cohort like?
It's a 15-week course. It's met on Wednesday evenings from 6:30 to 9:30, and during the 15 weeks, it takes you through three parts to the program. The first part really is about idea validation. So you come in with you come in with an idea, or you think it's an interesting idea, and of course you want to get it validated. Is this a really good idea? Is this going to work? Is this going to resonate with people? And you try to get some research going on that fairly quick, do some quick tests on it. But essentially it's about that whole idea of validation. The second part of it is, now that you've had this idea of validation through with support of mentors, you go and build an organization or a company around that product that you're trying to build, that you've just tested out in the validation part of it. And the third phase of the program is really about getting it out there, getting it marketed, and possibly getting it funded.
Wow, GM should have come to you when they decided to make the EV1, huh? You guys could have probably mentored them just a little bit. Yeah.
Well, the program is geared towards technology companies and software, but we are far away from Silicon Valley, which is where this is all started. And so we want to recognize that in Hawaii, there are some unique circumstances here. So technology companies, software companies are certainly welcome, but there's also other companies that are using technology and using software in a very novel way, and they may apply as well here too.
And so what kind of things have you seen work? What kind of things have you seen that don't work?
Let's start with the things that don't work then.
Okay.
At least that Founder Institute generally is not as helpful for. So it's good to draw the sandbox lines, right? I would characterize them as service companies or consulting companies. Generally, are not accepted into the Founder Institute program. There is an acceptance criteria to joining Founder Institute. You do take an aptitude test.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, there's a lot of pattern recognition. I don't want to give away all the things that are inside the test, but it's administered on a global basis, online, and it takes about an hour or so. And there's a little bit of pattern recognition, a bit of background check. I say background check in terms of the person's aptitude and likelihood of succeeding as an entrepreneur.
Wow.
In fact, that was started by Aaron Petzer of Mint, who was one of the first instigators for this particular this test.
And so, is this a test that was designed for Founder Institute, or is it something?
I really couldn't say if it was designed specifically for Founder Institute. I'm sure people have taken aptitude tests before online, but this particular one, from what I understand, I've only seen it. I don't actually know the test. I've taken the test. We see the results of it, but the online part of it, you have to kind of just remember what you go through when you first take the test. But I believe it was geared towards Founder Institute as far as helping identify the likelihood of an entrepreneur's DNA, I should say, perhaps, in identifying who these people might be.
Now,
because it is, entrepreneurship is there's a lot of people who say they want to do it and they're self-employed, And certainly you're an entrepreneur there. What we're trying to do is find entrepreneurs that will build enterprises or build companies that actually hire other people, and and when they do form a company, they are what we call a Delaware C type of corporation. So they do incorporate in Delaware, and they incorporate. So it's not an LLC or it's not a sole proprietor or anything. It certainly is looking to have equity and stock ownership within the organization. So it's trying to build a global organization.
Well, that's a pretty standardized setup. It depends on revenue, correct?
Not so much as revenue as opposed to what idea do you have that may scale to a global basis and have perhaps several rounds of funding within an organization in its journey to getting large.
And so service companies can they're pushed off the shelf. What other kind of companies are pushed off?
Generally, mostly service companies have don't quite fit the startup model for Founder Institute. Generally, single founders are it's very hard to start a company as a single founder. Now, certainly, we're looking for founders, and there may be multiple founders. We welcome multiple founders to join the program. You may have a single founder join, and then, of course, have a team around that person as well, too. But generally, yeah, we're looking for companies that can scale on a global basis. I think that's a bigger opportunity, as far as saying, what we can't do and what we can do.
And software and tech is great in Hawaii because we don't need to typically ship.
Exactly. I mean, some companies from the last year. For instance, and you've had them on your program here, right? Ready Zone HQ and John Shear and Iqbal Ashraf for Mentors Guild as well. They start up with an idea and they are able to build their organizations, get it incorporated in Delaware, have equity ownership in their organization. They could possibly look for outside investors, and the idea for them is really, they can scale this on a global basis. And disaster preparedness, right? That's a universal thing. It doesn't just happen here, right? And Mentors Guild, for instance, people want to have great help and great coaching, and it can come from anywhere.
And I believe I think I saw you on a mentoring website somewhere. So yeah, someone could call you for mentoring. So it's not the only one out there, but it's good to have that come from Hawaii, which is nice.
Well, I mean, we choose to be here, right? I mean, and Hawaii is where I was born and raised in that sense, right? But and yeah, I mean, I think you can do a technology or a software company or any kind of innovative company from anywhere. We just happen to be here, right? So that's lucky us in that sense, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to go. I want to stay right here. This is great. And kind of like ThinkTech, it scales pretty well too because we're streaming live now, so anyone in the world can tune in.
And I remember Jay Fidel when he was first starting this off, right? And he was in a smaller building in downtown, and I'm sitting in a green screen room right now, and I'm sitting with Attila, right? I mean, I didn't even know you a few years ago when Jay was first starting it off, and he's come a long way in terms of this program. So
it's good stuff. Well, maybe Jay could apply to your program. That would. You can mentor him. Never know.
We're certainly looking for the next cohort now. So we are in recruiting mode. We have an event starting on March 26th at 6:30 to 9:30 at ZenWorks' office on Awahi Street. This is the former greenhouse facility. ZenWorks has rebuilt out the space. It's a free co-work space at this point in time, and they've been gracious enough to house us there for our events. It's every Wednesday. It's Wednesdays at 6:30. People can apply online at fi.co, and we have a series of free events in the beginning part, obviously to recruit for the semester. But the semester starts in end of April and lasts till the end of August. It's a 15-week program.
Now, when you go to this program, is it meant so that I guess you have to get funding for it, or how does it work from a financial perspective?
Okay, it's a very good question. This is a private company. Founder Institute is a private company. It's been around since 2009. There are course fees for Founder Institute program for 15 weeks. The course fee is $600. It's sponsored on a global basis, so the price would actually be higher. just to be upfront with everyone who's listening here, it is a $600 course fee. It goes through about 14, 15 weeks, and then if you during the program, when you graduate, you do provide a 3.5% warrant for Founder Institute. Now, let me divide that up a little bit. There's a portion, about a third of it goes to the Founder Institute. So 3.5% is divided into about a third of it goes to Founder Institute, and a third of it goes to the mentors that are part of the network. So they're providing advice and mentorship to these founders, and then a third of it goes to the cohort of the founders in that particular group. So, for instance, this May group that we're starting. Let's say we have 20 companies in it. The cohort of those 20 founders will share in each other's percentage in that pool. So they'll get about a percentage of all of their companies combined.
So they can collaborate and maybe help each other out.
Well, and that's the idea, right? I mean, and you know that. You've started up your company, right?
Sure.
It's very lonely, right? It's very lonely. There's decision making is very difficult. And as a mentor-driven program, the best way to get mentoring is really from people who know how to, have been in the trenches, right? And it's lonely to do that. And you make a lot of mistakes. I make some fresh new mistakes in my new companies, and hopefully we learn from that and we share some of that the knowledge with first-time founders who really are not sure how to go about left foot over right foot.
Well, I want to talk about first-time founders, but right now we do have to go to a quick break. So
okay.
Those of you who are watching, you're watching NBT. This is the Lighthouse for Great Ideas. I'm your host, Attila Saras, and we're here with Russel Cheng, and we're talking about Founder Institute here in Hawaii. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel. This is Think Tech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, ThinkTech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is ThinkTech. I'm Jay Fidel. Bye.
We're back, we're live, and you're watching Think Tech. I'm your host, Attila Saras for NBT. Next big thing, the Lighthouse for Great Ideas. With us today is Russel Cheng. We're talking about Founder Institute. It's a mentorship program here in Hawaii. And of course, he's the co-director here.
Right.
And it is a national program, so it comes out of Silicon Valley. And there's all kinds of great people who can apply to this program, both to be mentors and to be, I guess, participants in the program.
Right.
And sounds to me like these mentors, they have to be really experienced and well qualified. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what some of these mentors are and why I would get excited and want to join this program?
All right. Well, part of the program is, are the mentors. The big part of the program are mentors, and the reason why you want to have mentors is because they've been through the trenches, right? The criteria that we use to select the mentors, and this came from the Founder Institute, but I added on my Hawaii flavor as well too. The first criteria was founder CEO. The mentors had to have started a company and they're either ran it or they're currently running their companies. The founder CEO, because they know what it takes to will a company into existence, and they know the ups and downs, and they know the downs, a lot of it, and it's a contact sport, right? The second criteria really became they had to have shipped a product. So when I say ship a product, they were actually shipping something and putting it in customers' hands, whether it's users, and getting free users or getting paid customers on that. They had to ship a product. The third criteria was very important, was to have raised a round of funding, either venture funding or an angel round or a Series A, so venture funding, or raise enough organic revenue within the organization that they didn't need to seek outside funding. I think that is very important, because that means they're selling their product, right? The fourth thing was they had to be in a position to mentor. So if you've had mentoring before, if you've been, you had to have, if you're in a position to give back to the community and give back to other founders who are just starting off, and you want to do it and you have the competence to do it, that was a big criteria. And the last thing I threw in there, which Brent and I had spoken, Brent is the other co-director, Brent Kakesako, was this is a mainland company coming into Hawaii, and we thought it was really important to have the mentors really have some Hawaii experience. So either lived in Hawaii, born and raised here, or gone away, came back. They were in the military for whatever reason. They had some kind of affiliation with Hawaii, because Hawaii can be such a quirky place sometimes, right? And doing business here has its has its ups and downs. It has its challenges, right?
Like everywhere else.
Yeah, but we wanted to have the deep understanding of the local market as well too. It's not always interesting to have a mainland company coming in with all their best practices, and then of course it's kind of run all over everyone here. But to be able to provide this with the mentors have some experience with Hawaii, and we thought it was very important for the founders.
And so, can you tell me about some of these founders, or is it a secret?
Oh, for you mean the founders or the?
Oh, I'm sorry, the mentors.
For the mentors, last year we had the mentors, and we have some. In fact, we have the bulk of them coming back this year. One of them is Walter Roth. He was the founder of Hot U a long time ago. Mm-hmm. We have Brian Nelson, who used to run a company called Value Commerce, who sold it to Yahoo Japan. He has his own company called Weatherly, among other companies now. He's an investor in some other companies. We have Tim Dick, who's the managing partner from Startup Capital Ventures. We have Donovan Kealoha, who's founder and CEO of ASEO Corporation. We have Dave Mori from the Cancer Research, who used to live in Japan, where I've known him from. He used to run Pico, which was Pico, I think it was Pico.jp, which was a huge Groupon clone in Japan. It was before Groupon. We have all of them are founder CEOs, and so that's we had 23 mentors last year. And we had 21 founders. So we had more mentors providing expertise. I mean, another one would be, and you mentioned it on your show, which is Mad Mimi, right? So we had Dean Levitt. Dean Levitt agree. In fact, this year we have some new ones. We have Dave Kozuki from Toe Choice, right? He was in the Blue Startups Accelerator, and we have Jason Hopai, who's from Shop Sui, and he's in the Manoa Innovation Center with our offices there. So we have a huge, variety, a diverse group of people. We also have Tana Dang. We certainly look for Tana Dang for the from her wedding shop. We certainly wanted to have more female founders, female founder CEOs as well too, and we encourage it.
And so. It sounds like you have a great group here. And are there a lot of applicants that are trying to get into this program?
We have applicants, and we certainly have a recruiting event right now. So it's March 26th is our first one. Every Wednesday we have another event going on. It's really to just get the word out there and start really building up the semester. We think that there may be quite a bit of people who will apply, but because you need to take the aptitude test and you need to qualify for it, some people will get in, and some people will have to apply for the next one, the following one after that.
Like American Idol.
I guess so. I wouldn't say you'd have to audition for it, but like I said, there is the aptitude test, and it really helps people to. It helps people to have the seriousness of starting up a company, because it's not easy, right? And you know that it's not easy. It's extremely difficult. The default is really to fail, and what we want to do with this is experienced mentors and experienced CEOs who've been through it before is to minimize that risk, right, of failure, to decrease that a little bit, so that they have better, the founders have a better shot at winning. They have somebody to turn to as a mentor and ask them, hey, I'm going through a rough patch, how do I go through this? And they have a network of people that they can count on, and of course the mentors all have their own networks behind them, which can open more doors. So the program is really for first-time founders who are quite inexperienced, but we're providing them with a lot of help and a lot of love to help them build their organizations and go from there.
Works out really well. It sounds to me like you've had a lot of mentors in your own past that really helped you.
You know, I've been fortunate to have had mentors when I was living here in Hawaii, and then I went away for 16 years, and I had the benefit of having additional mentors in Japan and in Singapore. You know, in fact, one of them's from Hawaii. His name is Jeff Char. He runs a company called J-Seed Ventures out in Tokyo right now. He's a very good friend of mine, but he's also, I consider him a strong mentor. I've had the benefit of having some mentors here in Hawaii again, and one of them I was just with earlier this afternoon. His name is Greg Kim. He's one of these, you know, a top startup lawyer here in Honolulu, and for his company, what is it? I know it's Greg Kim. I always call him Greg Kim, and I'm sure it's like Vantage Council and stuff. But yeah, he certainly has helped me grow as a person and grow as and introduce us to the right type of startup environment, people that we need to meet.
And you have a good history yourself with starting several companies also. So you're one of the mentors. You mentioned indirectly, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the break you had mentioned that. Like I said, I've been lucky to have mentors help me, and I started 7 companies now. So DevLeague is my other startup, and it's a 7th one. And there's a lot of ups and downs, right? And having gone through a lot of that in the past, I've had six okay companies, and two exits. I've had 1 failure, and so there's a little bit of downside on that. But you learn a lot. I can tell you now that you learn a lot more from a success. It feels much better, but you do learn a lot from a failure as well too. But yeah, I've had some startup companies in the past, and we're certainly not going to stop, anytime soon.
Now I wonder, why do you start up more than one company simultaneously instead of focusing all your energy on just making one successful?
Well, that's a very good question, and the reason why we're doing this is, so DevLeague is my full-time startup right now, and I have another partner in it, and I always try to start up companies with co-founders because it's much easier to have a co-founder than being a solo founder. It's nice to cry on somebody else's shoulder as well too, and bounce ideas off of each other. The Founder Institute is a part-time course. It's only for the evenings. So once we have set this up, there's a lot of hard work in the beginning part in terms of setting it up, lining up the mentors, lining up the founders, and then of course running through the program. And Brent is the other co-director for Founder Institute. So we share the load, and once you get it going, it really only meets on Wednesday evening in the evenings, on Wednesday night, 6:30 to 9:30. Now the founders, on the other hand, they have a lot of hard work they need to do, so they can keep their full-time jobs if they want to join this program. You're not required to quit, but down the line, somewhere along the line, you might seriously think about it as you build up your idea, get it validated, and go through building up a product and building a company around that product, and then starting to look for traction, getting customers, possibly getting funding for, or getting, selling your product, right? You may think about eventually leaving your job and making this your full-time job. So your question about why I'm doing this is part-time in terms of the Founder Institute, but of course my other thing is full-time. What we're trying to do is build out the hustler, hacker, designer triangle. So the hustler, and I think that is the
You can't be all three, right?
If you're lucky enough to be all three, you still want to get a co-founder because it's really hard and it's really lonely being a founder. But the hustler, hacker, designer triangle, that equation I think is the modern equation for a startup organization, especially if you're building up an internet company that you want to scale on a global basis. So the hustler side of it is obviously the business development, marketing, the vision part of it, and really sometimes it's the janitor, right? I mean, you're like doing everything that's involved in starting up a company. It might be, taking Visa on your website, for instance, right? Organizing the banking, for instance, for that. The hustler, the hacker part of it, the person that can code, build things out, right? And of course the design thing. And as you know now, design is very, very important in building out an organization.
Well, you've just mentored me. I wrote down my little triangle: hustler, hacker, and designer. So I'm gonna see where I fall in this, and maybe we can do some mentoring after the show. But we're out of time. Can you believe it?
Wow, that was very quick.
Went quick, huh, Russ?
Very quick.
Well, thank you so much for joining us again on the show.
Thank you for having me
it.
on the show. Thank you for having us.
And of course, if you are interested in applying, go to fi.co and go ahead and submit your application online. And of course, look out for events coming up at Zen Garden.
ZenWorks.
ZenWorks.
And it's on. The first one is going to be on March 26th at 6:30 in the evening. So sign up at fi.co and it goes from there.
All right, perfect. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Think Tech. I'm your host, Attila Ceres, for NBT, the Lighthouse for Great Ideas. See you next week. Aloha.